Module 2, we're moving into the second module now. Hopefully, everything will go well and I'll be done. But I needed to do that. Okay. So I want to say hello, welcome. If you have not been here to one of my lives before, that's cool. I'm excited to have you now. How we do this is this becomes a part of the Let's Have the Conversation podcast. And what I offer are 3 talking points, 3 reframes, and 3 reflections to sit down, think about what we're talking about. And here in this space, we are allowed to question and ask because our intent here is building true solidarity and community in an intersectional way beyond what we think, but actually embodied community. Hey, Amy. So, today I was sitting down, I took my time. If you read the article prior to the I Am Renee Good, I spoke about America Goddamn, right? And sitting down and really thinking about our shared and connected struggles. That's what the work takes. Hey, Kate. It is not about thing. It is not about appropriation. It is about a very real full circle moment. What I'm not going to do is pretend that white women have not been harmed by patriarchal systems of whiteness and violence, right? I don't do that. But we are going to discuss how these things are distinct and specific, right? I often use my own self as an example inside of these systems. Obviously, a Black woman, there's nowhere in the world I can go and say I am a white woman. However, I am a second generation Irish American, right? The way I show up in the world is not going to be the same Black experience as a monoracially Black woman or an unambiguously Black woman. So when we can recognize those differences and how supremacy works across the spectrum, we can be in true solidarity. We can be in true intersectional community. We can see each other as whole people. Now, not everybody is going to agree with that, and this is absolutely fine. Not everybody's going to agree with my opinion on Say Her Name, and that is fine because one of the main found and crux of supremacy culture is a monoculture. Okay. I am aware that there are Black activists that are using Say Her Name, and that makes sense because it is a rally cry created in and from the struggle of Black women. So this is not even just excluding white people. This was at the exclusion of Black men because the loss of Black men and male lives to state-sanctioned violence and murder was lauded up. That is how patriarchy is weasels its way in. Whilst Black women, Black trans women, Black femme women, Black femmes in general were just swept under the rug. So Say Her Name was a rally cry specifically for Black women, specifically. Why it is important to recognize that is because when you say, I see you, then you actually see me. Why it is not okay to conflate that message with the violence and the murder of Renee Nicole Good as just a marginalized state-sanctioned murder is because it creates that monoculture again. And it is literally the antithesis to community and solidarity because it says, yeah, we see you, girl, but right now, let's focus on us. And that's not good, right? It also does not allow for you as white women to actually have a voice. You are used to your voice being folded into patriarchal whiteness, right? You are erased. You are absorbed. What he says goes. That's part of those 15 pillars of supremacy culture, and it falls directly under paternalism, right? Father knows best. We had TV shows, books, everything, all of the things. What does my pastor say? What does my priest say? What did my dad say? I vote along the lines of what my men in my family say, right? And the white women that broke away from that through white woman feminism simply were like, okay, I'm not doing this shit anymore. And I'm going to create my own power structure inside of white patriarchal rule, which fair. That is one step away from the systems that harm you. However, it's still a system that harms us, right? And this is how we deal with all of the intersections and how to actually come into a true solidarity, sisterhood, frame it however you want. So, that is what we're going to get into today. I advise you to grab a drink, grab some water, take breaths, because you are going to want to defend this. It's natural. It's normal. I'm unbothered by it because it's just part and parcel of those 15 pillars of supremacy culture. Defense comes right on up, but that's not what it is. Threads is going crazy. Threads is always insane when you say something that activates that defense mechanism. Hey, Anna. Hi, Michelle. Hey, Ani. I'm going to share with you guys a couple of the comments from there. Da-da-da-da-da, ba-da-bum-bum-bum. Da-da-dee-dee-dee-dur, I haven't said it, but I know it's a rally cry for the marginalized, right? Oh, I love to be seen by you. So somebody said, I haven't said it, but I know it's a rally cry for the marginalized. Unfortunately, that's just not people of color. It's now many groups, women of all races included. I think it's appropriate in this case. A gay woman murdered by an overzealous cop. White women, you understand patriarchy, but that is exactly where it stops for you. So I want you to turn around and I want you to think about if a man said that to you. If a man turned around and said, me too, which is another movement that was co-opted from Black women, but alas. If a man turned around and said that same thing, and men are absolutely harmed by sexual violence, absolutely, absolutely. We do not take that away ever, right? Like we need to protect our boys as well because too many of them are harmed through sexual. But if that were in fact the case, and they came and they said, well, basically, this is just talking about everyone's sexualized violence and assault. Make space for us, make room for us. There would be a problem there. There would be a problem because you know that white men's voices would be centered over your own. That same thing happens with white women. It is why I talk about the patriarchy in pink, and I remind white women that you are your men. Take a breath. That's uncomfortable. Another one of those 15 pillars of supremacy culture is fear of open conflict. There's conflict, and all of a sudden we become, why would you say this? This is so divisive. Comments like this. Critique is not chastisement. Critique is not punishment. Critique is not excommunication. Those are things that happens inside of systems of whiteness, right? You cannot dissent because when you dissent from the monoculture of supremacy culture, you become an outlier. You become a race traitor. You become you become a problem, right? Because you're supposed to shut up, look pretty, and be quiet, and just go along to get along. That is not community, okay? There is no way to be in community if I can't tell you, hey, what you're doing is harmful to me. What you're doing bothers me. What you're doing is silencing me without you then turning around and being like, shut up. That doesn't matter. That's not real. Because that is what is happening over there on Threads, right? Like, nope, that's not true. That's not what it is. You need to be more encompassing. Black people, Black women specifically, have never, ever in the history of activism left anyone out, ever. The same cannot be said for white women. And you need to understand that. You need to understand your history. You need to understand your own white feminist movements, such as the suffragettes. Kick ass. Love them. They were not playing. They were stabbing people with hat pins, chaining themselves to buildings. And they also were quite happy to leave Black women behind. That also must be a part of the story. We are never going to get to true solidarity, true community work, true activism, true dismantling of supremacy culture if you are not willing to sit in the discomfort of conflict. Okay? So take another breath, let that out. Understand that it is absolutely normal to want to defend your point. It is absolutely normal for you to feel unsafe when being confronted about harm that you're doing. But understand that that reaction, because it's not a response, that reaction is a direct reaction from the violence of supremacist white systems. That is not from us. We're just talking to you. We're trying to say something. And we're saying, listen, if you really want to be in this work, happy to help you, but you can't do it this. And again, there will be others that say you can. And if that is where you are more comfortable to do your work, do it as long as you're showing up. But if you want to go deeper, if you are willing to be more uncomfortable, I am absolutely going to hold your hand through that process and help you get to what I feel is true intersectional community. If that is not something that you want to do or you feel ready for now, that is also fine. I am not demanding your presence. I am not telling you what to do. I am telling you that from this perspective that I have and others have and voice, that this is not a good thing to do. Find the person that it is good for and be there. This is an invitation, not a demand. Hey, Laura. Hey, Peace Face. Okay. So, again, talking point one, why say her name has a specific lineage? We're going to get into that. Talking point two, Renee Good, visibility, and the refusal to name whiteness. Talking point three, I am Renee Good, and using that as a refusal for access. So let's start at number one. The main point here is that Say Her Name as a hashtag was created by Black feminist organizers to confront the erasure, right? It is not a universal slogan for state violence. It is quite literally created to confront the erasure of Black women, all Black women, trans femmes, trans people, however you name yourself. But it was specifically a rally cry for that, not for all marginalized bodies, not for Black men, not for anybody, but Black women. Okay? Because we were completely and utterly erased from the conversation of state-sanctioned violence against Black bodies, right? Because again, that is how these systems work in tandem. They are the divisive ones. Us having conversations saying, hey, maybe not that way, is not divisive. It is a critique. And again, throughout this conversation and any others that we have, I would love for you to remember that a critique is not punishment. Conflict is not punishment. These are ways and spaces to show up, to hear a different perspective, and to shift. Just that simple. Hey, Dory. Black womanist, thank you for that correction. Do you see how simple that was? Because free is correct, not Black feminist, Black womanist. And I actually will go back and adjust that on the article. Thank you. Super simple. I don't need to defend that. They are absolutely correct. See how that works? Community conversations. Hey, Karen. So, what happens with this is Black women were being killed and completely erased, right? Just, or lovely, we get our entire humanity erased. And there are mugshots and the worst, most violent language that you could find against Black women. We were never offered the grace of our humanity. We were never named mothers, sisters, community members. We were traffic stops. We were women in our houses. We were barely women. And that is part and parcel of supremacy culture. So it was important to say her name to humanize us. There's nothing more human than your name. There is nothing more real than your name. The murderous agent who said fucking bitch, murdering Renee, ensured in her last moments that he took from her were dehumanizing by calling her a fucking bitch. Saying someone's name is the most human thing. See how this intersects? It is why when our trans siblings change their names, it is important to not dead name them because saying someone's name humanizes them. And that is something that we were not receiving as Black women who were being executed by state sanctioned violence. Okay. So hold that there. Again, created through Black womanist thought. The reframe that I offer here, I'm not going to make this a very long live because I want you to sit with it. I want you to question it. I want you to ask me things. I keep a very open space for that reason, right? Because that is necessary. Because again, say it with me, critique is not a punishment. Reframe here. Solidarity is not about using the same language for every single wound. It's about honoring the history that shaped that language. It is not about exclusion. Precision is about respect. When you show up to movement work, it is respecting the work that has already existed before you decided to get together. Some more people are on there like, well, maybe it's that white women are now realizing what women of color have gone through. Listen. That is a choice. That is a choice to now realize, that what women of color, Black women specifically, have been discussing for the last 400 years. That's a choice to just now recognize it. Instead, I want you to deal with the truth that you're just now realizing it because it could be you. Because it could be you. You are finally feeling what it is like to walk around in a Black body because you are seeing the state turn around and absolutely demonize this woman who was leaving a site, leaving a scene. Car completely turned to the right, wheel, not even that. Hey, dude, I'm not even mad at you. Peace. See you later. And she is murdered in cold blood and called a fucking bitch. That is what it is to walk around and be Black because our skin is our sin in white supremacy, because our skin is a weapon in white supremacy. And in the vein of intersectionality and awareness, I am going to name colorism because I do not walk around looking as much as a threat as my cousin, who is unambiguously Black, with a wider nose, bigger lips, coarser hair, darker skin. I benefit from colorism. I benefit from my proximity to whiteness. So I'm not as concerned with how I move about in the world as she needs to be. And that is all that we are asking in this moment, is to recognize that yes, she looked queer. And the only reason why she looked queer is because white, male, cis, het patriarchy demands white women to look a certain way. They have defined what feminine looks is. So she's not immune from that. But again, Say Her Name is created to recognize the harm and the violence brought upon Black women's bodies. Yes, dollified. It is absolutely horrendous, right? You could see it in the beauty pageant culture, bees free. So the reflection I offer here for you is to ask yourself, where have I reached for familiar language? Instead of asking, what does this moment actually require? This moment. Because this is a pivotal moment. This is a real moment for white women, white femmes to wake up and see that you can have your fucking rescue dog, you can have your SUV, you could be dropping off food to a neighbor and be murdered for existing. And sit with that because that is a terror that Black women and Black people have sat with since they drug us over here. And we're not even going to talk about the global terror. Karmic said she was queer, yes, but that's not why she was killed, unlike Black women. Boom. I talk about that often as well. I talk about that often as well. We do not even get the benefit of marginalization. We will not kill queer, black, and can be. But this is a true pivotal moment and reckoning and an opportunity for white bodied women to really step up and step in and empower yourself and not fold your voice into someone else's. Aren't you tired of that? Because that is what patriarchy does. What you're doing is mimicking patriarchy. Your voice is being folded in to a movement, thing to do with you. Create your own movement and come alongside it. That's solidarity. Second reflection question. Ask yourself what discomfort arises when I'm asked to be more specific instead of more symbolic. It. What are you going through? Name the patriarchal violence that has happened. This is not new. Cops have been raping white women for funsies. Okay? That's just a thing they do. 40% of domestic violence cases against law enforcement order or law enforcement agents, which that's what's reported. 40% of the force. Most of those are white women. White women have been getting their ass beat, killed, raped by white men for the longest. Find your own voice, find your own movement, and come alongside our movement. That's solidarity. Third reflection question. Ask yourself, do I confuse intention with impact when I show up to justice work? Your intent does not matter. Have you not learned in 5 years, right? Because when you guys discovered in 2020 that racism existed, you learned all of the buzzwords, right? Impact over intent. But yet, here we go, round and round and round, because you refuse to embody the work. You think about the work. You read the books, you write it down, you hashtag it, you change your profile picture, you do all things you think about. But are you feeling it? Are you embodying it? Is it in you? Do you feel the work? That is important because then you will recognize that your impact with using Say Her Name is so problematic because not only does it distill what Black women have worked for so long, it completely erases you and your own brand of patriarchal violence that you experience underneath supremacy culture. I keep telling y'all, stop focusing on Black people and focus on what is harming you. The more you focus on what is harming you, the closer you will get into solidarity because we're going to be honest in this space. Nobody will give a shit about anything for the long arc of liberation until you recognize how it impacts you. Okay? Let's use everyday scenarios. Homelessness exists everywhere. We all pass by homeless people. We see them under the bridge. Some of us are more active in that cause than others. Others ignore it completely. Some will give $1 when they can, give more. Everybody is in different space with their levels of response to homelessness. You know what? It's different when you face homelessness. If you've ever been homeless. You feel that differently if you are staring at an eviction notice. You feel that differently if you are housing unstable, right? That's embodiment. And that is what I'm asking of you. So now, take another breath. Invite that truth, that awareness, those questions into your body. Because if we're going to do this work, if we're going to do this work, if we're gonna do this work, you better fucking feel it. You better sit with the grief. I've spent the better part of days randomly crying a break, thinking about this family, thinking about all of the families, thinking about the terror, feeling it all because it's embodied, because it's real. Anna says, thank you for teaching me so much. Thank you for being here, willing to be taught. There is no me without you. That is the co creation of community. I could not exist. I could not do this work. And I would do this if it's one or 1 million. So I appreciate you being one of the many. So again, take a breath, drink some water, move your body, do what you need to do, friends. Because if you're going to be in this work, you got to live it. You got to feel it. You're going to have to sit with it. And it's uncomfortable. And you're not going to like it. And you're going to want to defend. And you're going to want to fall into all of those pillars of supremacy culture. And I'm unbothered by it because I'm aware that that is the foundation of this all. That's cool. So we can do this together. Talking point 2, Renee Good, visibility, and the refusal to name whiteness. Because that is what this always comes down to. Folding your voice into somebody else's movement is the refusal to name what whiteness and how whiteness has harmed you. I am so sick and tired, and I have been sick and tired of hearing about white privilege. There is no privilege in having no community, no culture, no language, no code, nothing that denotes culture. You have white leverage. And here is when your leverage would be useful. You could leverage your voice, your struggles, your actual positionality inside of supremacy culture to not only uplift a movement such as Say Her Name, but come alongside it with your own I am Renee Good, because you are. And the refusal to name whiteness is such lazy activism. I can't take it seriously. I know that that's uncomfortable. I know that that feels fucked up. I know that it feels like, God damn, I can't do anything good. I'm just going to do nothing. Do not collapse here. Stay. Stay. Because all of that you are experiencing is born out of supremacy culture that says if you don't do things perfectly, if you don't do things right, you should not do it at all. And you collapse and you fold and you get absorbed into white male patriarchy. Stay. I'm inviting you to stay, to not collapse, to be uncomfortable, and to understand that staying means being uncomfortable, that staying means challenging, that staying means being honest with yourself first. We already know. Bees Free says, I appreciate the truth you share. Sitting in discomfort means I'm rubbing up against growth, which is something to be proud of. And it is. And it is, friend. It is. It is. It is something to be so proud of, right? And it is part of dismantling supremacy culture. And you can't do a damn thing in this world if you have not dismantled it within. So stay. Allow those thoughts. I anticipate them, but stay anyway. And if you can't stay, just come back when you can. So the point that I make here is Renee Good's life and death were and are being documented widely, internationally. I assure you, this will make case law. That is not the same as the erasure of a Breonna Taylor Bland. I don't even want to go in to the consistent naming. That is not the same. That is not the same. And it's okay to not be the same. Is the point, is the recognizing where each of us are impacted by supremacy culture and doing the fucking work to dismantle it. Hello, Kim. So, Renee Good's life and death were and are widely documented, humanized, and contextualized. Even during the moments, you have the President of the United States. He holds the highest fucking office. He's commander in chief of the most powerful military operation of current day, calling her a domestic terrorist, telling us that what we see with our own eyes is not true. Is not true. From all of the angles, from the angle of her own murderer, having the hubris to record it. What a fucking snuff film that is for him, huh? And telling us that we did not see what we saw, that we did not see a woman leaving with conflicting information. Stay here, get on, happening at the same time, demanding that civilians navigate a militarized encounter. I'm sorry, a masked man with a weapon telling me get out of my fucking car. My first instinct is to leave. But they are demanding that we, as civilians with no training, should be able to turn around and de-escalate the officer. But now here's the caveat. It's about to be uncomfortable. Black people are trained into this. Black people are trained in de-escalating militarized encounters in our everyday conversations with our children. That is what the talk is. If you've ever heard about the talk is that. The premise is teaching our Black children how to de-escalate a militarized encounter with armed men. That is also why it's not the same. Okay. We have to teach our children how to hands up. Don't speak too much. Don't move. Don't move heavy. No, you can't play in the park like that. Hell, we can't even have our kids play in the backyard. My kids love Nerf guns. I am consistently concerned that somebody would see them and call the police, and my children could die in their own backyard. We know that to be true because it's happened. We know that to be true because our children are killed and murdered in parks, playing and being children, simply existing while Black. That is why it's not the same. Again, if you want to do this work, it needs to all be embodied and contextualized. We are not thinking about it, we are feeling it. So, again, even whilst we are watching the government shade her and treat her and want us to believe that she is a domestic terrorist, a radical leftist who is trying to run over ICE people, instead of somebody like, look, bro, you know what? I'm not mad at you. You're doing your job. I'm just going to leave. You have just recognized what it is to be a Black person in the United States of America. Because most of the time, we are just trying to go, look, I don't want to fight with you. Just want to go home. And we never make it home. So you have to sit with that and not in a space of pity. We don't need that. We don't need you to be in the movement talking about you're going to save Black people. Sweetheart, you can't save yourself. You're going to have to sit with the reality that you can't save yourself. So you can't save Black people. In the comment sections, white men, your own brothers, fathers, sisters, husbands, in-laws, sons, people that you have fucked and fed are celebrating her murder. White men and white women have put these policies into place. You can't save yourself. You will never be able to save Black people. You've got to get in this work in solidarity, in saying, holy shit, we can't save ourselves. Okay? Black folks ain't vote this shit in. Black people are not in charge of anything systematically, systemically, none of it. This is all the doing of your own people, so you cannot save us because you can't save yourselves. So take a breath there, release saviorism, embody your own positionality, welcome that discomfort and recognize that you're going to have to move through that. And you're going to have to recognize that we are now at a point where you too could be murdered for existing. Take a breath. That is a very hard thing to recognize. That is a very, hmm, humanizing almost. It is when you take away the comparison to Black people and you sit down and you finally realize, oh shit, I could be killed for just existing, you realize just how fragile life is, just how human you actually are. As long as you still cling on to or saviorism, that you, in fact, can do something for Black people when you can't do something for yourself, you are never truthfully, you ain't got no skin in the game. We need skin in the game. Michelle says they want us to see the gaslighting is intentional. They want us to self-police. They want us to put ourselves deeper into the mental jails whiteness already put us in. Her crime was calling out the systems of whiteness. Well, white. Yes, because she's a race traitor. And white women have been being killed for being race traitors since forever. Okay. I talked about that for years. Years. Okay. The Klan didn't only kill Black people. That's easy work. We know that. You need to be sitting with what they used to do to white women, how they would take their own wives, their own daughters, and happily pass them around to be raped and brutalized by their brethren for standing against them. This is not new, white women. And you better fucking get serious about your own history of violence inside of white patriarchal systems and calling it out so your movement can come alongside, not co-opt, but come alongside. That's solidarity. Michelle says, but at the same time, they are handing us the key because it has never been more clear. Good. I hope that this is getting more clear and getting more serious for you all. So let's continue with that point of that visibility is not accidental. It reveals how whiteness is granted humanity even in death, even when whiteness kills its own. Oh, fuck, right? Yes. Breathe. Take some off. Shake it off. Shake it off. Because imagine white folks killing white folks, and one side is dehumanizing her and the other side is humanizing her. This is an intercommunity. This is a war inside of whiteness, and Black people are collateral damage. We always have been. It is the laziest thing that white people did was to create race. Because before race was ever created on the shores of what we now call the United States of America, race was delineated in Europe. They were killing white people left, right, and fucking frequently. The colonization of Europe, I tell you guys all the time, they were putting white pregnant women on pikes. This is not new, friends. This is not new. And you're going to have to grapple with the fact that it's not new. Moon Daisy says, this is definitely uncomfortable, but thanks to your teaching, I'm able to sit with it and fully feel it. And I thank you I know I'm not easy. Like, I don't even try to be. So thank you because it's rigorous. It is. Truth hurts, right? And I don't like truth to hurt, right? Like, it's not my intention to be like, well, oh, well, right? Like that. No, this is why I do it the way that I do. Like, okay, let's name it. Let's sit with it. Let's move through it. Let's have some conversations about it. Let's truthfully work through it. So thank you for being a part of that. Michelle says whiteness eating itself, right? But it always has. And naming that is important for solidarity work, right? So what I'm naming here in this talking point is Renee's humanity is preserved in public memory in spite of, in spite of the powers that be trying to dehumanize her. That is in exact opposition to why I say her name was created. Is because Black womanists, thank you again, Freak, Black womanists were trying to preserve the humanity of the Black women that were murdered by state-sanctioned violence because everyone was in alignment with the dehumanization of her because it comes normal inside of supremacy culture, right? So that is a complete opposite experience of what is happening with Renee. Photos, stories, relationships, and love are centered. We're talking lovingly about her wife, her children, right? Obviously, not the people that are just not, but that's the white people problem. Like, that is what whiteness has always done, right? She's being called all kinds of fucking slurs and horrible things inside of whiteness. That's white people's noise. That is something you guys need to confront, right? But that is the exact opposite of what happens to us as Black women, as Black people as a whole, right? If I were murdered right now, I would not get the benefit of being called a wife, a mother, an educator, a community leader. I would not. It would be a whole lot of other shit, but it would not be that. And that is where that distinction matters, right? And not, again, not that's one of those 15 pillars of supremacy culture, not as a binary, not as an either or, as a both and. We have to hold those truths. That is not what would happen. In your fantasy, it would, but that is not the reality. And hey, maybe it would, but I would be an anomaly. I would not be the norm. I would be the exception to that rule. Another one is erasure versus the absorption. Black women are erased. White women are absorbed into the patriarchy to strengthen it. And again, you doing the say her name with this is again allowing yourself to be absorbed and wanting to pretend that that is solidarity. You do not need to be absorbed into another movement. You need to have your own movement and come alongside movements that have been going on. Because your positionality inside of white supremacy, whether you like it or not, is still above Black folks, period. You are still a white woman in America. And whilst patriarchy keeps its foot on your fucking pretty little neck, you keep your high heel shoe on ours. And that is an uncomfortable truth that you just have to sit with. So, solidarity means recognizing positionality, having your own movement alongside the say her name. The reframe that I offer here is whiteness does not erase white women, it folds them in, often at the cost of your own voice. Your pain is not illegible, it's just redirected, right? But then you guys talk over us with that, right? You want to tell me about how she's marginalized, how she's queer, she's white. And that is how supremacy culture operates. This is why she's getting all of the attention that she's getting. And this is also part of her being demonized as a radical leftist, lesbian, bad mother, right? Because she's been divorced. And you don't do that in cis white patriarchy. You don't divorce, you stay with those men. You don't choose yourself. Again, that's white people shit. It's not us. So don't step on us and refuse to talk about what you are going through. Okay? The reflection questions that I offer in this space is ask yourself, where has my voice been absorbed rather than erased? Second question, how has patriarchy taught me to survive by aligning with other things instead of naming my own harm? What you are thinking is alignment is an erasure of our voice simply based on positionality and supremacy culture. I want you to sit with a very uncomfortable truth that white women have been being killed, beaten, and raped by white men for millennia. And you haven't said a goddamn thing. And that is uncomfortable. There has to be solidarity and community within whiteness. And that feels scary because the only time whiteness has ever come together since the creation of whiteness is in the enforcement of power over others. So when you hear that, you think of, Klansmen, the women of the Klan, white power, and you have to be the disruption to that. You have to create community and solidarity amongst white body people. You can't demand to be let into someone else's movement, someone else's struggle, someone else's problems without naming your own very clearly. And I'm going to say this again and invite breath and invite movement and invite water. White women have been being murdered, raped, beaten, and killed by white men for millennia, and you haven't said a fucking thing. That's individualism. So breathe, sit with that, and then you can see how taking over a movement that is named to speak up against the violence on Black women and femme bodies then becomes you speaking over us and the refusal to name whiteness as the culprit for your harm as well. Okay. So now what's coming up? Write it down. Think about it. This will be a replay. If it's too heavy, if it's too much, step away, come back when you have the capacity, when you have the ability. This was never going to be comfortable. Any work you do with me is never going to be comfortable. It will be held in love, in care, in community, but it will not be comfortable. And these are some hard truths to do what's best for you. Hey, Pax. Okay. Talking point 3. I am Renee Good. This is something I want white-bodied women to say. It is a refusal and it is a praxis. Praxis is where theory meets embodiment in the body. It's when you take all the things you learned and thought about and put it into practice. That is what praxis is. Saying I am Renee Good over saying say her name gives you your own voice. It is an exact opposition to the white men that have harmed you. It is an exact opposition to the I am Charlie Kirks. The I am Charlie Kirks is who's been killing you. The I am Charlie Kirks is who has been killing you for millennia. The I am Charlie Kirks are the ones who pulled that trigger and called that woman a fucking bitch. And I am Renee Good is the answer to that. It's the answer to that. Because it's the I am Charlie Kirks. It is the white men who feel like they are losing their reins on power and positionality, which is a real thing that definitely needs to be talked about because patriarchy harms men first, but we're not talking about white men today. We can have that conversation another time. But it is absolutely their answer to feeling smaller in a world that's becoming more equitable. It is their answer to feeling less than in a world that demands that they are at the top and the peak. It is their answer to what it feels like to not be seen and heard as the authority on everything. And that is a very real thing. That is the context. That is not the excuse because we're not excusing that behavior. I am Renee Good is the exact answer to I am Charlie Kirk. And that is the conversation that needs to be happening because this is an intra-community war within whiteness that we, the non-whites, are collateral damage from. They don't give a shit about us. These birth laws are not about us. They've been sterilizing Black, indigenous women in this land. They have been trying to stop us from birthing, right, and having access to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. These laws are to create more white people. These laws, the stripping of DEI has nothing to do with Black people. White women have benefited from affirmative action and DEI more than Black people ever have. This is about getting your ass back into their homes, barefoot and pregnant with their children. In 10 minutes, it'll be legal to rape your wife again. This is why we're lowering the laws for children, child bride. Because you know what? When white women are dependent on white men, you shut the fuck up because you don't know how to survive the patriarchy without them. Take a breath. We just happen to be the collateral damage. And then you get to soothe and ease that over by telling yourself you're an ally, that you're going to help Black people, that you're going to use your privilege to free us somehow. We's free, boss. We's free. Because supremacy culture, as it was meant for us, was that I would still be enslaved today in 2026. We's free. You are still the property of white men. So again, I am Renee Good is a refusal and praxis, and it is the exact answer to the I am Charlie Kirk. Because if he is Charlie Kirk, then he is the one who is killing you, friend. He is the one that sees you as a race traitor. He is the one that sees you as a traitor to men because you are queer, because you are trans, because you have chosen divorce, because you have chosen yourself. Your answer is, I am Renee Good because you are. So the core point in that is I am Renee Good is not a slogan. It's a positional reckoning, one that refuses white male domination and white feminine disappearance. That is why you say it. Because if they are Charlie Kirk, you are Renee Good. And they proved that when they killed you. And that is solidarity within whiteness, right? Because I can easily turn around and say, well, I'm not Breonna Taylor. I'm light skinned. Can't happen to me. No, I am Breonna Taylor. My son is Tamir Rice. Like, we are each other. And that is what whiteness is missing. And then wants to turn around and hop, skip, and jump into Black spaces, into Black community, into Black movement work. And I'm not saying it to stay separate. I'm saying this so you can learn how to be in true solidarity, true community, true intersectionality. Because if you can't see us and the differences in the way I'm able to just easily name colorism, in the way that I easily name that I recognize that white-bodied women listen to me better, closer, for many reasons. But one of those uncomfortable reasons is my mama white. I'm aware of that. I can name that. I'm okay with that. That is just truth. And truth is not a threat. It is an invitation to go deeper. It's an invitation to see each other, to validate each other, to say, I see you and where you stand. I see you and what it's costing you to exist underneath supremacist rule that we are all impacted by in different ways. I am not here to fucking win the oppression Olympics. I don't want to be oppressed. I don't need to be the top tier oppressed person. I don't want to be oppressed. Okay? So again, I'm going to repeat that. I am Renee Good is not a slogan. It is a positional reckoning, one that refuses white male domination of I am Charlie Kirk, who is actually killing you, and white feminine disappearance, which is what you're doing when you try to fold yourself in to say her name. Don't disappear yourself, white friends. Aren't you fucking tired? I'm fucking exhausted for you. Stop folding yourself in. Empower yourself with your own fucking voice. I'm going to say this again. You've been being raped, murdered, beaten, discarded for millennia by white male patriarchal dominance. When the fuck are you going to say something about it? Find your voice. We'll happily come alongside you. We'd march alongside you with your fucking posters that say, I am Renee Good. And say her name. That's sisterhood. That's community. That's solidarity. Reverend Dr. David Barr. Don't know how, but I'm glad I found you. I'm glad to be found by you. That is what we're talking about here, okay? So I've named the contrasting of Charlie Kirk. White men demand to be heard, whilst white women allow themselves to be disappeared or folded into other movements. Stop that shit and speak up for yourself. White women, I want to remind you that you're being trained to fold, align, and disappear or borrow and code. Find your voice. The reframe here that I offer is true solidarity begins when you stand where you actually are. Not where you feel it's safest to speak from. It's real fucking easy on that podium saying, say her name when you are covered and surrounded by Black women. And this is not to negate, because I got a lot of people saying, I think it was the mayor of Philadelphia who is a Black activist and very outspoken, stated, say her name. Yes, she's Black. That makes sense. That's fine. That's also her position. That's fine. If that's the way she wants to run the movement, I love that for her. Like, I am not that person. I am trying my best to empower white women to speak from your positionality, to come into true intersectional community, to stop fucking folding. You deserve to be heard. Not here in our spaces, right? We're not centering your experience. Center your experience inside of the cis, hetero, patriarchal, white, male violence. You are Renee Good. You are not forgotten to the annals of history, okay? And if you have been, it's because of white men, not us. So don't erase us. Stand by us. Walk with us. But do not erase us as well. This is what I mean by you are your men. Stand alongside us. Come alongside. Get your slogans, thing, and remind yourselves, because you know what that's going to do? You're going to deal with the grief. It's time for your own reckoning, your own grief that you are Renee Good. Now you could just be helping out a neighbor, that you and your wife could have your rescue dogs in your stickered up SUVs, dropping off something to the neighbors, just moved to town to help build your business and be murdered and called a fucking bitch. And the government that the majority of your sistren and brethren voted for is labeling you a domestic terrorist. That's a hard reckoning, friends. I am not going to pretend that this is going to be easy work for you. I will say I'm here for you. I will say I'll stand 10 toes deep with you while you do it, but it's not going to be easy. And I want you to stop folding. I want you to stop disappearing. And I want you to stop thinking you're going to speak over us, because we've been talking. I want you to find your own voice and speak against your own violence. Bees Free says, have to run, but thank you so much for the discussion today. I learned something from you every time. It is a pleasure to have you here. It'll be a replay so you can catch it. Not a problem. So the reframe, as we are closing this up, is true solidarity begins when you stand where you actually are, not where it feels safest to speak from. Community does not require sameness. It requires recognition and awareness. Okay? Different harms, same system, shared responsibility. The reflection questions I ask for you to ask yourself is, what truth am I avoiding by reaching for someone else's language? What are you avoiding? What are you avoiding? What would it mean to name my own vulnerability without collapsing histories? It is 100% okay to talk about the fact that Ireland is still colonizing 6 fucking colonies to the north. And that is not the same history as Germany's colonization. See how that works? See, if you notice, a lot of my work will be rooted in very specific Black American experiences, because I am a Black American, as well as the granddaughter of Irish immigrants. I'm only but a second generation American on my mother's side. So when I speak about European colonization, I speak about Irish colonization because that's my. It doesn't erase what happened in other places in Europe. It doesn't say that it's less important. It says this is mine and this is what I know about. So this is what I'm going to talk about. See what I'm saying? That's the position in which you are in. What would it mean to name my vulnerability without collapsing histories? That's what is the answer to that. Can I stay present when conflict arises, or do I retreat into defensiveness? Because whilst defensiveness is definitely part and parcel of those 15 pillars of supremacy culture, do you retreat to it? Do you collapse under it? Do you just say, you know what? I'm going to do what I want to do anyway, because this Black person said I could. Well, guess what, friend? I'm not your Negro. If they said that, I love that for them. They love it. Hey, go off, ride with them. I want to do different work, deeper work. We're not a monolith. That's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of community. That's the beauty of individuality, not individualism. That is the beauty, is we each get to find our own path in this work. This is mine. And if you're here and it aligns, it's now yours too, and it's offered to you. I also offer a practice your praxis space. I will add that into the replay on this, right? But I will run through a couple of them. The self, I always break these down if you're new here into self, home, and work, which is your community. And I do that because that is the order in which we decolonize from my perspective. That is the order in which we have been colonized from my perspective, and inner work, outer work, right? So we start with the self. You practice saying, I am Renee Good, slowly, and you notice what arises, right? Because saying, say her name gets to get folded in. It gets to disappear into a movement that already exists. Saying, I am Renee Good is you looking in the mirror and dealing with the way that the violence of white, cis, het, patriarchal domination in supremacy culture impacts you. And you're going to feel that. You're going to feel that. Allow the grief, allow the pain, scream, yell, cry, but come back. Come back to yourself. I ask you to journal where that fear of conflict shows up in your body, right? Ask yourself, what am I being invited to face? In your homes, I want you to talk openly about erasure versus absorption. Two completely different things. Black women and femmes are erased. White women and femmes are absorbed. Words matter. Model conversations where accountability and care coexist. Practice staying present instead of keeping the peace, right? That is that fear of open conflict. But you know what? I'm not going to argue. I'm just going to, you know what? Okay. There's no peace, friend. That's not peaceful. That's avoidance. Inside of workspaces and community, use language with intention and lineage. All of our language has a lineage. That is a difficult body people to embrace, because whiteness does not have a lineage outside of power over other people. What I am inviting you into, friends, is power with. Power with. So, say her name with reverence for Black women and femmes, right? Say, I am Renee Good, to name your own location inside of this supremacy culture. Treat conflict as information, not failure. You didn't fail. You didn't fail. You did not fail. And again, I've been doing this for a while, and I remind people we're human. You're going to fuck up. Fucked up. Didn't you see Free fixed it? He was like, honey, it's not feminist, okay? Because Black women don't do that. We do feminism. You know what? You're right. I did not collapse. I did not defend. It's not that serious. It's information, and words have lineage. And womanist, womanism has a lineage that is important to name. I will now go back and correct that on the article as well. And I'm still here, and Free is still here. And that is community work. Each one teach one, iron sharpens iron, whatever cool little colloquialism you would like to utilize. So, as we are, let me see. Hold on. Moon Daisy, why can't I see this? Moon Daisy says, I'm going to watch the replay because I need to take the time to absorb this. I'm grateful for you and Lady Speech because I found you through them. Oh, that's my baby. That's my baby. She's going to be here in a little bit. I'm supposed to be making ribs. Y'all got me talking, but I'm going to cook and we're going to have some dinner together and discuss. some things and what we're doing. Okay, so thank you for being here. Thank you for taking the time out to recognize that you need space from this moment. Yes, take care of yourself, friend, and come back because I'm going to be here. So, as we are closing, I'm going to offer you a grounding invitation, right? Before we close, I want you to take another breath. Okay. I want you to move your body when this comes up for you, when you listen to it again, when you reread it, when it comes through, all the time. Just keep moving. Move that trauma through, move those recognitions through, move your body. Drink some water. Chug that shit. Okay. Shock your system back, right? Got to come back to the body. Shock it. Shock it back if you need to. Ice cold water, chug that. Breathe it. Come back to self, right? You do not have to get this perfect. That is my reminder to you. You do not have to agree with everything I'm saying either, whether it's immediately or down the line. Okay. That's compliance, right? That is very much a supremacy culture idea. Agreeing, demanding agreement is comply or die. You don't have to agree with me. We don't even have to disagree to agree. Agree to disagree. I hate that shit. We just don't have to agree because alignment and agreement are not the same. And I believe that most people that are in my space are aligned with the idea that we need to break free from these systems, even if you don't agree with the way I go about it, or I don't agree with the way you go about it. And that's absolutely fine. So again, you don't have to agree with everything immediately. You just have to stay with it. Okay. You just have to stay. You have to metabolize. You have to allow the grief, allow the questioning. Come on back. I'm here. Right. A reminder that nothing changes unless it's faith. Faced. I said faith because I was reading into in the grain. Hi, how are you? Nothing changes unless it's faced, and facing it together without erasure or collapse is how solidarity deepens. Okay. Those are my closing words. I invite you to into this work. I invite you deeply into this work. Yeah, Lady Speech and I are friends. We are working on a collaboration. We will have a physical space here in Atlanta on the 20th. We invite you to join those spaces. You can find that information on her website, on my website, and it is my name. And we will be having that. And I will be bringing Somatic Sundays to that space where we do this work in person. Because whilst I love the reach of the internet, it is time to go inside and get deeper. If you are new here right now, what we are in my space is what I call the season of self, where we invite ourselves into deeper interrogation, into deeper um, introspection, um, and co-regulation with each other, where you have to go in, right? We follow the seasons and the rhythm of that. And we are in winter where I'm at in the world, okay? And that means dormancy, not death. That means sitting, going deeper, strengthening your roots, right? Allowing that nourishment, that coziness coming inside. So there will be in-person things beginning at the end of this month, February, and so on and going forward. So I do invite you into those spaces, okay? And I invite you to sit with me in this space over and over and over again. I invite your questions. I invite your wonderment. Some things that I'm saying, it's the first time you've ever heard it. Good. We need curiosity. Ask me. I have no problem answering. All right. That is all for the now. I am going to go back to my little hiatus. I have regular lives Monday, Wednesday, Friday with friends. And those will be starting back on the 19th. You are so welcome. Thank you, Kara, for being here. Ani, thank you for being here as well. You're so welcome for this. I'm going to go eat and nourish my body and see if I feel like being cool enough to stand outside and grill or just go order wings. Have not made that decision just as of yet. I love you guys. I mean it. Thank you. I know that my work is uncomfortable, and that's okay. That's okay. I also know that I'm not for everyone. That is also okay. But if you are here if you are willing to stay, if you are willing to do the work without collapse. I'm here and I welcome you. See you again soon.